Hey everyone, my name is Syed Fazan Sen and I'm a doctoral student of civil engineering here at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and today I wanted to make this video trying to demystify the graduate school admission process in the United States. So if you're really into this kind of content, or uh, if you're looking to apply for graduate school, make sure to subscribe to this channel, as I'll be uploading more videos like this, helping prospective students go through the process of graduate school admissions. First of all, I wanted to share what really means to be a graduate student in the United States. If you're coming from suburban or rural areas in India, you will definitely get a cultural shock. So if you do feel out of place for the first few months, know that it is a shared experience. There is a booming job market for non-CS majors. Even for CS majors, if you really know what you're doing, you will get a job. And the policy makers here are really good at keeping the economy going. So the job market is really thriving right now. Life really revolves around research and courses. Such scenes are commonplace across all universities. This picture was taken at University of Cincinnati, where I found these students reading and preparing for their exams in a hammock while enjoying the sunshine of late October. So your life will really change from what you have lived so far in India as an undergraduate student, especially if you're coming from tier 2 universities or non-IIT or non-BITS planning sort of institutions. In addition to that, as I mentioned, job market is really booming. Here are some of the very basic statistics you can look up for yourself, and you'll find that your job really pays well. And even if you accumulate some debt during your application process, fear not, because it will all be paid off with a year or two of your work, while you will also accumulate a good decent chunk of savings. So beyond that, I wanted to also just share my experience and help you decide whether or not this admission process and the whole graduate school is right for you. First off, what you would need throughout the process would be some documentation. Now this will be in the form of a resume, ideally a single page resume, statement of purpose that would highlight all of your accomplishments as well as your research ideas, your research intentions, prospective professors you want to work with, and all the things that you know about the school you're applying to. Then you will have a specified number of letter of recommendations. The number would largely depend on the institution you're applying at. So the department requires you to submit 3 of them. Some departments may only require 2. And then there is a case of standardized tests. All those hours spent studying, and then you will take your GRE and TOEFL, and you'll need to submit those test scores. What other suggestions I have is you need to select a really good professor, and this should be done ideally between the months of August and October, while you're taking your GRE and TOEFL scores, and you have some publications in hand. You can approach them and you need to tell them what really interests you in their labs and their research in particular, and how you can actually contribute. I will share examples of all these documents in the upcoming slides, so stay with me and bear with me, and let's go over some of the basics first of all. So if you are a second year or a third year student of an undergraduate program in India, you need to know during that time whether graduate school is right for you, whether you actually want to be a graduate student for 2 or more years, depending on whether you're coming here for master's or PhD. And then once the summer hits, which is around June or July, you need to start planning for it. First, you need to start preparing for tests, preparing for TOEFL and GRE. That takes about 2-3 months, depending on where you start from. For some individuals, GRE might be really easy, but TOEFL may be the wrench in the whole process that might screw up your entire preparation process. So make sure you know where you're starting at and prepare accordingly. Then you need to search and finalize universities. I will share a document and how you can actually do this and try to boil it down into simpler bits. Then writing papers. You need to prepare yourself for an academic life, and this is true for especially for students who are applying for doctoral programs or research-based master program MS degrees. Now, these are some of the numbers that I think would really help you sort of get a measure of where you're at. If your scores are anywhere below these numbers, then expect yourself to go through a rough patch during the application process. But if you're better than these numbers down there, 162 for GRE 1 and 26 for TOEFL speaking, the chances of you getting a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship increases exponentially. So keep that in mind. And you need to be contacting professors. Email them with your accomplishments, and make sure that they know that you know them, and that's very important. Moving on, I just wanted to quickly go over what are some of the pros and cons of graduate education as opposed to where we come from. One of the biggest pro is that throughout the education process you will see that there are so many accessibility advantages that you get by being a graduate student. You will get access to free conferences, free networking events, and all these things will help you not only land a really good job but also develop your network, which really is a tricky deal if you're in India, because then all the references and other backdoor entries come into play. So in the US, things are a little bit different. You need to have good references, good networks, good professional networks, and graduate school really helps you accomplish those goals. Next, if you are really someone who procrastinates, this is not for you. This may not be the right choice for you. But having said that, if you are a sleeping genius, then of course you will be able to make it here. The exams are not like what we have been through our secondary or undergraduate education. Roting is really not a thing here. Note taking is a thing. Most of the exams are open book take-home exams, so exams are not at all difficult, especially if you're someone who pays attention in class. Course content is based largely around industry and academia, so practice-based, research-based coursework. Most of the courses at graduate level, they end in a project which will give you real-life experience, for example a design project or a capstone project to cap off your learning learning outcomes that you have gone through in the course. You will be getting all the software resources, as I mentioned earlier, at a discounted rate or free in most cases. Some of the cons: it's highly competitive. You need to really be someone who can stand out of the crowd, and you need to be on your toes. You need to be someone who is ready to go, hit the ground running. You will not have time on weekdays, and if you are working in the lab, then forget about sitting back and kicking back and relaxing. While exams are easy, but they are not really something that really puts you out of the crowd. It does not give you an edge. So if everyone has a higher GPA, then really what comes into the picture is how experienced you are in what you do. You have to be a team player. So if you're not one, then graduate school may not be the right choice for you, because most of these courses are pretty much team they pretty much end in a team-based project, and you need to be a good learner. You need to learn how to learn. So these are some of the points that you need to know before we go into the application process. Everyone loves the process, right? So what you should be thinking, you should be someone who wants to be seen without coming across as being desperate. What I mean by that would be clear in the later half when we talk about emailing professors. The whole application process is designed on, I would say, survival of the fittest model, where uh, it's it's highly objective with hints of subjectivity, especially when it comes to networking. If you have a really good network, good references, if your undergraduate professor who's writing your recommendation letter is from the university that you're applying to, that really comes into the picture where they really will prefer you. Uh, but for most of us, it's survival of the fittest. So make sure you're up there in the top 5 or 10 percentile of the applicants. Some filters, which may be unfair, and most of them are fair, are in place to filter out the noise. And by that I mean non-serious applicants will be filtered out, and you will see when you're applying that certain individuals will not even get chance to make through the admission process. To crack the process, you need to know how hard it is to get into the school you're applying at. And all these points I'm mentioning here, I'll not go over all these. I have uploaded this presentation on my LinkedIn, so feel free to go ahead and check it out. But these were some of the general points about the application process. So I mentioned earlier I wanted to show you how to find a good graduate school. Look at the rankings, US News rankings. Lately they've been in hot waters, but I think they are a reliable source of getting information about a graduate school. Look for highly ranked departments. Make sure the professors in your area are active and not just big names with dormant labs. You need to be looking for someone who can really expose you to the network. Uh, it really helps if you can go ahead and talk to their alumni of their labs or current students. Uh, and if you are someone who's looking for a job right after your master's, you need to make sure that you end up in a university which is either located in or is really close to a big city. For example, Purdue is really close to Chicago, Cincinnati is in Cincinnati, and University of Chicago, University of Illinois at Chicago. All these cities where you can actually find a good job, and most of these big companies may be located at. You need to really strategically choose your universities based on uh, those factors. How do you do that? Here's a link. Feel free to note it down or go to my LinkedIn and download this presentation and use the link to access this spreadsheet. This is really a good decision-making tool where you can really put down what really matters to you and filter out the noise in terms of university selection. So really good tool. I would highly recommend using this spreadsheet. Now this is the slide for standardized testing. Uh, I will cover this in a comprehensive manner in a different video, but if you want to read through all these points, feel free to go through my slideshow on LinkedIn. I will link it down below in the comment section. Now, before I move on, I just want to make a quick note about GRE and TOEFL. You need to know that this is a test that uh, really examines your brain power, more or less, how good you are at performing under stress and performing under conditions that are exhausting. So this is a preparatory run for you. It's a really good simulation of graduate school, I would say, especially not the test itself, but the practice or the run up to the test is really a good simulation of graduate school. With all that being said, I would like to bring this video to an end, and I'll see you in the next part where we'll go over the website of an R1 university and we'll go over the various application requirements. So I hope to see you guys there. Please make sure you hit the like button and are subscribed to the channel for more weekly content ahead.